What if the thing ruining your peace isn't what happened to you, but the meaning you've attached to it? Once you understand these 7 Stoic truths, you may start seeing people, problems, failure, and even your own emotions completely differently. Most people spend their lives trying to control things they were never meant to control. They want other people to behave differently, circumstances to cooperate, the past to change, and the future to become predictable. And when reality refuses to cooperate, they suffer twice. First, because of what happened, and again because they cannot accept that it happened. There is a moment in life when you realize that the problem was never the world around you. It was the meaning you kept giving to everything that happened to you. One person ignores you, and suddenly you question your worth. Someone criticizes you, and their words stay in your mind for days. A plan fails, someone disappoints you, money becomes tight, a relationship changes, and you immediately feel as if life itself has turned against you. But what if the event is not what destroys your peace? What if your interpretation of the event is what gives it that power? Lens. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that the people around you have not changed, your circumstances have not magically improved, and life is still unpredictable. But somehow you are no longer shaken by every little thing. You still care, you still feel, you still experience disappointment, but you no longer allow every external event to dictate the condition of your mind. That is where Stoicism becomes more than an ancient philosophy. It becomes a way of seeing reality differently. Tom Lade. The first truth is that life does not owe you the version of reality you expected. This sounds harsh, but it is incredibly freeing. Most frustration comes from the gap between what happened and what we believed should have happened. You expected someone to appreciate you, but they didn't. You expected your hard work to be rewarded, but it wasn't. You expected a relationship to last forever, but it ended. You expected people to treat you fairly, but they didn't. And the pain often becomes worse because you are not only dealing with the event, you are fighting the fact that the event happened at all. You are mentally arguing with reality. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly returned to the importance of accepting reality as it is rather than demanding that reality conform to our preferences. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means removing the unnecessary fight against what has already happened. Think about how much energy you spend wishing a conversation had gone differently. You replay the words. You imagine what you should have said. You create imaginary versions of the past where you finally win the argument. But none of those versions are real. The past cannot be negotiated with. The only thing still available to you is your response now. Then the second truth is that you control far less than you think, but you control something far more important than you realize. Epictetus built much of his philosophy around this distinction. Your reputation, other people's opinions, the behavior of other people, unexpected events, your past and many outcomes are not completely yours to command. But your judgment, choices, attitude, and response belong to you. This changes everything. Someone can insult you, but they cannot force you to become insulting. Someone can reject you, but they cannot force you to reject yourself. Someone can lie about you, but they cannot decide whether you will live honestly. Someone can walk away from you, but they cannot determine whether you will spend the next 5 years chasing their approval. This is where many people accidentally surrender their freedom. They give someone else control of their emotions and then wonder why they feel powerless. They say, "He ruined my day, she made me angry, they made me feel worthless." But pause for a moment. If another person's behavior can completely determine your internal state, haven't you handed them a part of yourself? The Stoic response is not to become emotionless. It is to become difficult to manipulate because you have learned to separate what happens from what you decide it means. Bandin. The third truth is that your interpretation can hurt you more than the event itself. Imagine receiving a short message from someone you care about. "We need to talk." Immediately, your mind creates a story. Something is wrong. They are angry. They want to leave. You must have done something. Your body reacts before you even know what the conversation is about. Nothing has actually happened yet. The message contains 4 words, but your mind has written an entire tragedy around them. This happens constantly. A delayed response becomes rejection. A facial expression becomes disrespect. A mistake becomes proof that you're a failure. Someone else's success becomes evidence that you're falling behind. Your mind takes incomplete information and turns it into certainty. Stoicism teaches you to examine your judgment before surrendering to it. Ask yourself, what do I actually know and what am I assuming? That one question can save you from countless emotional reactions. Bond. You don't need to believe every thought simply because it appears in your mind. Bland. The fourth truth is that discomfort is not always your enemy. In fact, some of the strongest versions of you are built during moments you desperately wished would disappear. Banged modern life teaches us to eliminate discomfort as quickly as possible. If something feels difficult, avoid it. If someone disagrees with you, block them. If failure hurts, find something to distract you. If loneliness becomes uncomfortable, fill every silence with noise, but constant escape creates fragility. Stoic philosophy takes a different approach. It asks you to become capable of standing inside discomfort without immediately obeying it. Bond. Consider someone who is afraid of being alone. They remain in a relationship that has been unhealthy for years because solitude feels terrifying. They know they are unhappy, but they are more afraid of the empty space that might come after leaving. Their fear becomes the decision maker. Now imagine that same person learning to sit with solitude. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Then it becomes familiar. Eventually, they discover something powerful. Being alone is not the same as being abandoned. Silence is not the same as emptiness. Independence is not the same as loneliness. When you stop running from every uncomfortable emotion, you discover that many emotions lose their authority over you. The sixth truth is that your attention is one of the most valuable things you possess. Where your attention goes, your emotional life tends to follow. Friends, if you spend hours watching other people's lives, comparing your progress, reading arguments, checking who liked your post, wondering why someone hasn't replied, and replaying an old betrayal, you are giving away pieces of your life without realizing it. Imagine having a limited amount of money every day and giving most of it to strangers without asking what they will do with it. You would probably call that wasteful. Yet people give away something even more valuable, their attention, without thinking twice. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly emphasized the importance of governing the mind. Your attention is not an unlimited resource. Protect it. Managers, you don't have to know what everyone thinks of you. You don't have to respond to every provocation. You don't have to follow every argument. You don't have to investigate every person's life. You don't have to carry yesterday into today. No, sometimes strength looks like refusing to look. The seventh truth is that your life becomes lighter when you stop demanding certainty from an uncertain world. Nobody can promise you that everything will work out exactly as planned. You cannot guarantee that people will stay. You cannot guarantee that your health, career, finances, relationships, or plans will always remain stable. Life contains uncertainty. And yet many people spend their entire lives trying to construct a world where nothing unexpected can happen. That world does not exist. The Stoic approach is different. Instead of asking, how can I make sure nothing goes wrong? Ask, who will I be when something goes wrong? Pongus, that question changes your entire relationship with uncertainty. If you lose an opportunity, you can learn. If someone leaves, you can grieve and rebuild. If a plan collapses, you can create another. If someone disrespects you, you can choose your response. If life becomes difficult, you can become more deliberate rather than more desperate. Since the goal is not to build a life where nothing breaks. The goal is to build a character that knows how to rebuild. And this is where these 7 truths come together. Reality will not always cooperate with you. Other people will disappoint you. Your mind will sometimes create stories that are not true. Discomfort will appear. Approval will disappear. Your attention will be challenged. Uncertainty will remain, but you are not powerless inside all of this. You can choose your interpretation. You can choose your response. You can choose what deserves your attention. You can choose which opinions matter. You can choose whether discomfort teaches you or controls you. You can choose whether a difficult moment becomes an excuse or a training ground. Imagine living this way for a year. And you stop arguing with reality. You stop begging people to understand you. You stop treating every criticism like a personal attack. You stop chasing people who have already chosen distance. You stop allowing temporary emotions to make permanent decisions. You stop measuring your worth against someone else's approval. And would your life suddenly become perfect? No, but you would become harder to disturb. And that may be far more valuable than having a perfect life. The strongest person in the room is not always the loudest. Sometimes it is the person who can hear an insult without immediately returning one. The person who can experience rejection without abandoning themselves. The person who can lose something valuable without losing their character. The person who can face uncertainty without becoming desperate for control. That is the kind of strength Stoicism tries to develop. So the next time life surprises you, pause before you react. Ask what belongs to you and what doesn't. Separate the event from the story you're telling yourself about it. Give discomfort enough space to teach you something. Protect your attention. Stop outsourcing your identity to other people's opinions. And when uncertainty arrives, stop asking how to control the future and start asking how you want to meet it. Because eventually you realize something profound. Peace does not come from controlling everything around you. It comes from becoming responsible for what is actually yours. Pongus, if this way of thinking speaks to you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Daily Stoic Dose. This channel is about building a stronger mind, deeper self-respect, and a calmer way of facing life through Stoic wisdom. And you will still experience loss. You will still face difficult people. You will still have days when fear gets loud and uncertainty feels heavy. But you don't have to meet those moments as the same person you were before. You can meet them with greater clarity. You can meet them without immediately reacting. You can meet them knowing that life may control the situation, but it does not have to control your character. And perhaps that is the greatest Stoic truth of all. You do not need life to become easier before you become stronger. You need to become strong enough to see life clearly. Planned. When you change the way you see what happens, you change the way you live with what happens. And when you change the way you live, the world around you may not change at all, but your experience of it can become completely different. That is when you stop waiting for life to give you peace and start carrying peace with you.